Hello, my name is Charles Avian, and I would like to welcome you to this professional development session on the philosophy of education through the eyes of Augustine. And today we're going to learn the four key components that Augustine brought forth in his philosophy of education. He pointed out four key components of his philosophy of education, which was readiness to learn, the environment, having clear expectations, and creating student engagement through their interests and motivations. The first topic is readiness to learn. Some practical ways that I ensure this methodology is by having my students actively engage when they sit down at their seats, by watching an engaging video lesson on our days of the weeks and the months of the year. Then we flow into our introduction lesson of our morning meeting by completing our calendar journal based on the videos that we just watched. It is so crucial for students when they come into your classroom to incorporate this skill because it's so vital to how your day is going to flow by keeping your students actively engaged throughout the lessons. Component number 2, the environment. In a classroom, it is vital to students to create a space where they can feel safe and feel comfortable. And just the practical ways that I use this component of Augustine in my classroom is for my students is by having different centers that they can transition to throughout the day, where it breaks up our traditional model of sitting at their desk all day, because students with special needs, they can become restless, irritable. So the more you keep them moving and going and transitioning from different centers and stations helps them both academically, developmentally, and also behaviorally, because they're not getting in trouble because they're having to be staying at their seats all day learning like their non-disabled peers. Our third component is setting clear expectations. Augustine did a very good job of explaining how it is so important to explain to students what we as educators expect out of them. And so students need to know what is expected from them daily. And we do this especially with students with special needs because they need those clear expectations and rules to know what behavior is acceptable and what behaviors aren't acceptable, especially with students who have memory issues. They need daily remodifications and going over those rules to reinforce those expectations of the paraprofessional and or teacher. So as a classroom, we go over these expectations and rules every morning during our morning meeting so that we start our day knowing off what the teacher and paraprofessional expects out of the student in the classroom. By implementing this methodology has cut down on the amount of behavior problems that we have in our classroom. And I totally agree with this because we've got data to support being able to go over these rules every day and explain them to our students has helped in the area of their behavior. Our last component of philosophy of education through the eyes of Augustine is students' interest and motivation. Engaging students based on their interests and using tools to help motivate them to be all they can be is so vital for students with special needs. And the way that I build all students' interests and how I motivate them to actually want to learn, I use a token system. At the beginning of every year, I have my students create an All About Me poster, which lists things that interest them. And then we use those items or activities to create each student their very own token board that is geared solely around them. I want to thank you today for joining me about the philosophy of education through the eyes of Augustine, and hope you can use those four key components of Augustine in your classroom. Thanks, and have a blessed day.